Happening now on Grid Tonight. F1 preseason testing is officially underway. What are the biggest headlines from the Formula One Shakedown at Barcelona? World Rally Championship might be closer to returning to America in official capacity, or are they planning a special event in Tennessee and Kentucky this summer? Officials at Nürburgring have changed its calendar to accommodate Max Verstappen's Formula One schedule. Will this set up the four-time world champion for a shot at the 24-hour event this year? Hello to all of our viewers watching here in the United States and around the world. Welcome to Grid Tonight, your weekly motorsports news program. I'm Kobe Lamont. With me are Joshua Birch from JB Motorsports and Matt White from Grid Endurance Performance Index. Throughout the show, leave your comments and questions in the chat for us to display, and visit gridnetworktv.com for our latest content. Now here's Josh with our top story this evening.
Thank you, Kobe. Good evening to you. Good evening, Matt. I feel like I should be coming to you from maybe the world's most wanted man. I feel like I should be wearing a mask and have my voice a bit muffled. More on the reason why. I don't know. Yeah, I did. just hiding. Not me. I should put some dark glasses on. Okay, let's go straight into it, because this one is a doozy. The new 2026 Formula One cars have now taken to the track this week for the first time in preseason testing at Barcelona in what is being called the Shakedown. 10 of the 11 teams have flown out to the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalonia, as Formula One prepares for the biggest set of aerodynamic and engine changes in 12 years. This season, the cars must be powered 50% from the power units and 50% from the battery deployment. Now, as a result, the teams banded together early in 2025 to request a shakedown week be held before official testing starts next month in Bahrain. Now, the FIA agreed along with FOM, and dates were put in promotion with rules in place. Now, each team can attend the 5-day test, but only allowed to run on 3 days, to which those days can be selected at the team's choice. However, with this being a private shakedown test, there is zero media, no cameras bar F1's official channel, and teams only allowed to post to social media sites 6 times a day. That is 3 of the drivers on track and 3 of people working. I kid you not. Now, Pirelli have also brought graphics. They've got the new C1, C2 and C3 tyres here, and as well as the brand new intermediate compound. And this has been totally redone. Our brand new extreme wet weather tyre, the X-Wet, is what they're being described as this season. Pirelli has provided 25 sets of tyres, 1 mandatory set of intermediates and 1 mandatory set of wets. However, the teams can select many multitudes of tyres, and this is what they've gone for. McLaren have gone for the safe approach of 4, 10 and 6 across the compounds. Mercedes, 8 no C2s and 12 of the C3. Red Bull, no C1, only 1 C2. They're relying heavily on the C3 red soft tyres, 18 selected. Ferrari, gone conservative, 4 hard, 12 medium and 3 soft. Williams are not at this test as they failed to make crash tests. We've got more news on that later on. Racing Bulls went for the same pretty much as their team owners. They went though for 6 of the C2s and 12 of the C3s. Aston Martin on 3, 10 and 7. No C1s for Haas, but then 4 and 13. Then it was 2, 6 and 10, 2, 9 and 9, and 4, 6 and 10 for the Audi, Alpine and Cadillacs. So it comes as a bit of a surprise here when I come to my next part of the story, and that is literally where I come in. Last week, JB Motorsports found a workaround to the live timing block through a legal site the circuit themselves provide to both media and the public. Now, this meant that when the cars left the pits at 8 a.m. on Monday morning, JB Motorsports were live with accurate live timing and full-on telemetry data. We knew everything. Now, the teams were confused how this was happening. So to prevent any further times being released to the world, they cut the external live timing data feed. And now all timings are internal to the track only. Second to that, police, secret police, helicopters, and even special forces have been keeping people away from the circuit all week long, with reports from the race playing, as they described, cat and mouse all week, and ended up on a hill 2 miles away from the track with a view of the last corner via telescopic lenses. Photo in this segment courtesy of Rudy Cazzaroli from Getty Images. Now, the length F1 fans have gone to is outstanding. So the first question is this, and Matt, we'll start with you here. Given F1 and the teams themselves advertised the test, gave us the date, time, location, and keep releasing footage from the circuit, why is this test so secretive? And how do you feel about the way the sport has handled the situation?
Well, good evening, Kobe. Hello, Josh. Hello, everyone. First of all, F1 Netflix, big tie-up. One of the biggest shows on Netflix over the last 12 months. Shows, movies. K-pop Demon Hunters. They have a song in said film called Takedown. They've taken the timing down. What they really should have done was not named this the Shakedown. Sorry, poor gag. It's late. Why is this test so secretive? Well, go back 12 years to, it was Jerez, Josh, wasn't it? I feel like 2014. Yep. They were at for the first proper test of the hybrid regulations, of which we all know now Mercedes stole the march on everybody and Lewis Hamilton won all those races, championships, and etc., etc. But the very first day of that rule set regulation change, testing day one at Jerez, was an utter shambles. No 30 laps people got on the whole day at maximum. People can get out the pit lane. It was hilarious and also fairly worrying. So I don't think they wanted a repeat of all of the, oh my goodness, Formula One's in huge trouble. What have we done with this new regulation change? Again, which clearly from the data we're about to show you in a moment, especially from Monday, was not the case. But yes, to tell us when and where, who was going to be there, all of those things that you outlined, Josh, and then to kind of go, but it's nothing to do with us. This is a team's test. This is not an F1 FOM or FIA involved test. This is all down to the teams. They have rented the circuit. They've employed everybody to be at the track, the recovery crews, and Medivac helicopter just in case we have another Fernando Alonso crashed all those years ago in the McLaren, of course. More about cars going off and crashing and testing in a moment as well. F1 so much for the fans over these last 5 or 6 years since the Netflix tie-up pre-COVID. This is not for the fans at all, is it? This is people banging on the door saying, we want to know what's going on with our favourite drivers and teams, and then being told, no, you can only look at social media 6 times a day, and we're going to give you fairly rough, perhaps not even accurate information every day on who's done what to who, on what tyres and what times they've run. So, I mean, there's people who've gone out there, media folk that weren't even allowed in the circuit. The race had Ed Straw and John Noble on Monday being shepherded around the track by, as you mentioned, police. They had a sight line to the track. They were told the sight line is property of the Circuit de Catalunya. A sight line. And they were told to move on. So that's just one media outlet. I'm sure there's many more people that have been to the racetrack this week and have got short shrift. So a really bad look for everybody involved, relatively speaking, on that side of things. But as we're going to get onto in a moment, the teams have, got on with their programs and, relatively speaking, and have cracked on, and it's been a positive test. But from the media side of things, apart from you guys, Josh, that cracked the code on Monday, it's been, fairly terrible outlook for everybody and for those people trying to cover it.
Yeah, definitely, Matt. It's been really crazy to follow, this situation from afar and watch it all unfold. It's not really a secret test if everybody knows about it, right? So I don't really understand why Formula One is, putting these crazy rules in place to try to, I guess, try to hide, people from getting from getting like certain information out, or like getting this photo of the car that's gonna, another team is gonna pick up on and decide to develop in their car later on in the season. And it's just turned into a messy situation from a media side. I actually, right before we come on the air tonight, I saw a journalist, I think it might have been either Luke Smith or Chris Matlin. He posted his spot from the hill near the racetrack in Barcelona. And I'm like, wow, the lengths you have to go through for journalism, right? Just spectacular. But yeah, it was unfortunate, they had to do all of that. But I got to give credit to all the media members who did everything they possibly could to cover this test, even though they weren't allowed onto the grounds. And it reminds me of the days, back in NASCAR when they used to do private testing, when you had people climb they climb something, then I like with a pair of binoculars and look at the racetrack, try to figure out what's going on during private testing. I don't really have much more to add than that, but I agree with mostly everything Matt said. It's a shame, that this has turned into quite a spectacle from the media side of things, but I guess as long as the teams were able to get what they would needed to get done, I guess all is okay in that world. But it's just, a situation, just a whole bunch of unnecessary, silly, and crazy rules. But gotta definitely tip your hat to you, Josh, and everyone at JB Motorsports for being the first in the world to do this, because this was a monumental moment for you, all your colleagues and your entire channel there to be able to do this.
I feel so good that finally we got the exclusive at the right time. As you know, boys, we've cracked NASCAR, audience, MotoGP, every other series. We never got Formula One. It was always our weakest, despite all much love that goes into it. And to be able to have that first day was unbelievable. I was looking with me and Richie were commentating on the session via the timings and all the information we were getting as well from the socials. And the viewers just kept growing and growing and growing and growing. And then we came off air eventually after the lunch break when we found out that they cut the data lines. And I was getting sent messages that, the actual World Championship blogs and the websites were reporting about me and us. And we were trending on Twitter, Instagram, Reddit had everyone everywhere. We ended up on newspapers as well in South Korea somehow. I don't even know how that happened. I got sent that an image. We just ended up completely nuts. So very nice that for once. This is early hot for me before we get into the Shakedown review. For 6 hours, I was the voice of Formula One. And if I never get anywhere near it, I'll take that. Absolutely. Because everyone was so kind and appreciative. And honestly, the JB Motorsports crew have been working non-stop all week. We've been finding out information, getting exclusives, talking with people from Williams, Aston Martin. We've been talking to people at the circuit, other media outlets, getting all the information together. And that's where all this is about to come from that you're about to hear. So let's get into it. And I appreciate what Josh has done regarding coverage of the F1 Shakedown. Thank you, Adam. I mean, we've got to fill 4 hours. The last session we're doing live again just to recap everything, because we actually, from such a secret shakedown, we know everything. So let's get straight into it for you here at the Grid Network. Day one saw the first on-track appearance of America's new Formula One team. Cadillac have come into Shakedown with the relaxed attitude of just getting laps in and understanding the car. Now, they found some issues, but are not worried and are focused on being fully ready for official testing in Bahrain. Now, Kobe, just bring you back in quickly. We know that Cadillac is having its livery launch during the Super Bowl next week, so I'm very curious as to the feelings over in America and how motorsport fans are feeling with them coming in.
Yeah, I mean this in no disrespect to Haas F1, who have been around for the last decade, and they have been, I guess, quote unquote, America's team. But the general feeling among the American motorsport fan base is that we finally have our team. Yeah, I know it's kind of hard, like for Haas, cause they were, they've technically been America's team, but a lot of people have not been able to identify with Haas F1 here stateside for whatever reason I can't really figure out. But with Cadillac F1, it seems like people are starting to believe and identify themselves and be like, if we're going to have an American entry on the grid in F1, they're going to 9 times out of 10 they're going to be pulling for Cadillac F1 this year over Haas, and I'm sure they're still going to be wishing the best for Haas, but Cadillac, they're good. Obviously they're going to be running the Ferrari power unit for the next couple of seasons until they actually get their full blown Cadillac power unit. Going from the General Motors factory in Michigan. But there's certainly a lot of excitement behind this program, and American race fans, they really love the personalities, and Valtteri Bottas, you don't really have to say much about him. Very very fun guy. His personality is certainly going to resonate with the American fan base. A lot of Americans also familiar with Checo, Sergio Perez, and everything he's about, and especially not just here in the States, but in North America in general. So they have 2 drivers that the American fan base knows, and then it's just going to be a lot of excitement heading into the Super Bowl to see what their livery is going to look like. And I'm sure a lot of people are going to be getting the early merchandise that Cadillac have for sale, whether it's your hats or your T-shirts. And I'm sure at some point they're probably going to have a diecast. Maybe not this year, but maybe next, but certainly, in years to come, there's certainly a lot more excitement about this Cadillac F1 project than I remember a decade ago. And Haas, and of course, you mentioned they had some issues in testing. Everybody's going to have issues in testing. So, that's something that, you really expect. But thankfully, it doesn't look like anything absolutely catastrophic. And, I saw some of the videos and the photos of the Cadillac, not just on track, here in Barcelona, but, before the shakedown happened. And it's really nice that despite their obvious inexperience, in Formula One up to this point, they have a lot of people with F1 experience, leading this program, and that it really seems like they've surrounded themselves with the best possible people, because the last thing you want to do is to get into the pinnacle of motorsport and completely fall flat on your face. I don't know if their debut is going to be as good as Haas. As you remember, they scored points on debut. I believe Roman Grosjean. I think it was in Australia, if I remember correctly. Yeah, that was a real special day. I don't know if Cadillac's going to be that special, but my personal expectations for Cadillac F1 to be like, just don't be the slowest team. That's all. Yeah, please just don't be the slowest. And I'm not going to put expectations on points or anything like that. But as long as they're not the slowest, I think, a lot of the American fan base will be really happy with them. But, obviously going into Formula One, not going to be easy. Don't look for them to be contending, at all immediately. It's going to take several years for them to probably build up this program. But all in all, a lot of excitement stateside for Cadillac F1.
Didn't know if, Matt, you wanted to rebuttal on that as well. I saw you thinking about a couple of things.
I agree. Well, we're going to talk about some of the other teams, but already they're not the slowest. So they're already at least 9th in the order, because they're ahead of two teams that haven't run yet. And you mentioned the diecast. I'm sure there'll be a testing livery diecast, because they're just running matte black with the big Cadillac logo emblazoned down the side of the car this week. So that will be the first Cadillac F1 car, regardless of what we see at the Super Bowl next weekend. Trying to figure out what day we are and where we are.
I've lost track. It's January.
Yeah, January just drags, doesn't it? But yeah, the first car that will surely be a diecast, and there'll be people with pictures of that as their phone lock screen. You can be sure.
Well, of course, they'll definitely have a Lego. That's already been pretty much ticked off and confirmed, isn't it?
I can have a little queue here going on the wall if I can get one.
Oh, very nice, very nice. I've got the little ones, and Nina's got the bigger ones. Bottas. But what's that? I need to move my drink I had from earlier on. Bottas might be an Aussie soon, because he qualifies for Australian citizenship by next year. Then he knows as Aussie Bottas as well, I think so. But strangely enough, him and his wife seem to be, very much up to something else post-racing career, if you want to go dig deeper on social media for that. Behind the mic, Matthew Anderson here. This is why America needs American F1 broadcasters to communicate to the American public, to let people know this won't be a team contesting for podium straight away. It won't be, but they're not the slowest, which is the great thing. Because we'll bring you who the slowest is, because, well, we've got the information, because it's not such a secret test after all. So, people that have excitement over this but isn't fully knowledgeable about F1 yet may tune in and be really disappointed and turn off when they're fighting hard to finish 15th. You're being optimistic. They'll be lucky not to be 21st or 22nd in Australia. Come on, it's a brand new regulation. They've got, they're using Ferrari engines, which look strong. If anything, I think Audi might be struggling a little bit more.
It sounds great with that Ferrari engine.
It sings.
We could have a wet Melbourne Grand Prix like we had last year, and they could pull up Mark Webber and get some points.
If they finish in there, yeah.
In S-Box Minardi all those years ago, it could happen.
Oh, I remember that. The Formula One gave them special permission to go onto the podium to celebrate as well. That was fantastic. Two. That one where, Ralf Schumacher went over the back of Rubens Barrichello, and then Felipe Massa got spooked and caused literal destruction. It looked like D-Day in front of turn one. It was ridiculous. Talking about a few stoppages on the circuit, Audi, as we've been flirting with around the subject, being driven by Gabriel Bortoleto, stopped after 27 laps with a mechanical issue in the morning. Now, Franco Colapinto also stopped in the Alpine coming out of the pits, and at the end of the morning, Liam Lawson went into anti-stall and stopped at turn 12. Now, as I had the timings, thank you very much to Omi, who managed to find that workaround for us at JB Motorsports, I can confirm that Isaac Hadjar was fastest on day one with a 1:18.159. Now, day 2 was affected by overnight rain and then worsening conditions, which resulted in all bar 2 teams setting lap times. Red Bull went out with Max Verstappen in the morning and then Isaac Hadjar in the afternoon. Verstappen topped the timesheet but caused a red flag 50 seconds into his first run as he went deep into the gravel at turn 5 but managed to return to the pits. Ironically, this is the same turn where Max ran deliberately into George Russell last season. Now, Isaac Hadjar, in his second day testing, ran some competitive laps before a massive accident at turn 12 with less than an hour remaining brought out the second red flag and looks to have damaged the Shakedown program as Red Bull will not run, it is understood, until Friday. Now, looking at the image on screen now, the rear right tyre was punctured into the gearbox and a massive repair is now underway. They missed day 3 as a result of running. Matt, coming to you on this one, looking at the image, how big a setback is this, not only for Red Bull, but for Isaac Hadjar's mentality and his mental state? And have you seen anything near Milton Keynes in the past 48 hours?
Well, good evening to Omi. Yes, that's me, everyone. Friend of the show, of course.
He did it. He got it all. He got the timings.
Well, I've seen plenty of things going on in Milton Keynes over the last 48 hours, but none of them including the Red Bull F1 team. Max Verstappen at turn 5. So that's quickly before we go to the crash and stuff. So that's Russell off the road at the end of the Grand Prix last year. First lap out of the pits this year in the gravel bed. Are we going to start the rumour now that Max Verstappen's going to go to MotoGP? Because MotoGP riders have terrible trouble with turn 5 at Barcelona. I jest, of course. Hadjar's off, which was described by F1 as a small incident. No, it was not a small incident.
Get that image back up. Does that look like a small accident to you?
Maybe can pull the pic back up of that. He's buried in the Tech Pro, that up there at 12. Not good for. Not good for his confidence, of course. But this is what these things are for, isn't it? A little bit. And we always see stoppages for fuel tests and other things that have gone on throughout the ever dawn of time of Formula One testing. So that's not kind of a big deal. But to have an incident on a Tuesday of a 5-day test, which is then going to stop either of your drivers, because of course teams only bring one car to these tests, and they just change the pedals and the pedal boxes and the seats and stick a couple of stickers over and change the numbers on the side. It's the same vehicle that runs. If they do a driver swap at lunchtime, to have both of their drivers now sat down, although I'm sure Max Verstappen will have his iRacing steering wheel in his hand over the next couple of days in his wherever hotel room he's staying in. It's not good for one of obviously the prospective championship favourite kind of group, as we would imagine going into the season, with Red Bull, McLaren, Mercedes, Ferrari, the big four really, who we always feel are going to fight for the championship. But they've lost a lot of track time, and people like Mercedes, who everyone have been, even before running even started on Monday, were kind of looking at going, well, George might be a favourite for the championship this year if the Mercedes car's right. McLaren, of course, are a little bit behind the ball on their running because they didn't get out till today, which you're going to get to in a second when you do your day free stuff. Yeah, big sort of delay for Red Bull, which they, of course, could have done without, especially with the powertrain, of course. That is a brand new powertrain in that car, and everyone on Monday night was going, wow, look at that. They're fastest. They've done pretty much the most laps apart from Esteban Ocon in the Haas, and it's all looking good. But end of Tuesday, completely the other way.
Yeah, and I understand it has also damaged the power unit, so having to repair that. And they don't have many spare of those yet, because you don't go into your pot until Australia when you start counting in for the season of, was it 5 now? Because we've got it extended up. That's the one. Yeah, as soon as you roll out the garage, you start homologation processes. Now, Ferrari had a smoother day with Charles Leclerc second and Lewis Hamilton in fourth as they left the pits for the first time. Lewis did have a small moment as conditions got worse, but ended the day with a huge number of laps. So, Kobe, coming to you on this one, do you think Ferrari can recover from a terrible 2025? And what are your impressions on Lewis Hamilton coming into 2026 and his 20th F1 season?
Wow, 20 years, right? Lewis has been at it a long time, kind of like LeBron James in his 23rd year in the NBA, and all those years Tom Brady played in the NFL. And, when you look at Lewis Hamilton, you could call him a LeBron James or a Tom Brady of his respective, sport, in of auto racing in Formula One. Yeah, so Lewis, obviously doesn't have much time left in his racing career, and for his mental, for the sake of his, mentality, and for the team morale, I hope they can recover from an awful 2025 season, because it couldn't get any worse, right? As disappointing of a year Ferrari had, and so far, looking strong in testing. Engine, is working pretty well, and maybe this is a sign to come, although it is early days. And I'm sure, the Tifosi, would love to have a really great year for Ferrari. We know Charles Leclerc is a very good race car driver. You just give him a good car, and he will give them, a good fighting chance. And I think Lewis Hamilton still has quite a bit left in the tank. I don't think he was the same driver, obviously, he once was a few years ago. I think he might have lost, a small step or two, but I still think on a good day, in the right conditions, Lewis Hamilton can still go out there and compete for race wins, and possibly, and another world championship. So Lewis, in my opinion, he's not like completely washed up, as I've seen some people saying on social media. But this is going to be a make or break year. If Ferrari has another year like 2025, or even a worse year, I think Lewis is going to walk after the 2026 season and say, you know what, this is just not for me anymore. It's someone else's turn. But if Ferrari can deliver on the car this year, and Lewis is running well and either exceeding or matching Charles in performance, I could see him staying on, a little while longer. But this is certainly a make or break here for Ferrari, and also Lewis Hamilton as well.
This is why he's here. It's all about this year, isn't it? I mean, last year started, well, with that sprint win in China, but then after that, it was terrible. And it looked like the old Lewis of the end of the McLaren days, where it just was not going to go right, and it was mostly in a sulk for quite most of the season. So, but it's all about this year. This is why he came to the team, and they've got to get it right for him if he wants another shot at trying to win races and win another championship, to be the absolute undisputed greatest of all time. So, yeah, I mean, they've got to get the car right. Looks great. The running they did at Fiorano last week in their little pre-shakedown, I suppose we want to call it that, where both drivers had a quick run in the car. Looks good. They had the movable aero all going on that test, which has been obviously well documented by everybody since then, of how that's sort of half working. So, yeah, I mean, a big year for Ferrari. They haven't I'm just trying to think back in my memory of the last few big regulation change first years since the Schumacher era. They haven't really got it right in the first part of them. Maybe this is the year that changes. We have to wait and see.
Yeah, hopefully we're going to find out ASAP. Lewis actually said in a small interview he did with F1 TV that this, out of all the regulation changes, is the one he's really noticed the biggest difference of. I question that after he's gone from V8s to V6s and all that, like he didn't see a difference. But no, this is the one he's gone, yeah, I can feel it. It's different. I suppose that's because it's 50% from the engine, 50% from the battery. So it's a bit more instant torque. The aerodynamics with the active aero, it's confusing me like crazy. But we'll see when we get more action in the next 2 days, and then in Bahrain, then again in Bahrain, then we head to Australia. God, the season's so long now. 49 days, that was it, by the way. It's the shortest off-season in F1 history. Unbelievable. So, day 3 saw McLaren out for the first time with world champion Lando Norris at the wheel. A strong day, as the MCL 40 seemed to be the thinnest car on the grid. Now, Mercedes dominated the day, with Kimi Antonelli setting the fastest time of the whole test, with George Russell in second. A few red flags, one for Nico Hülkenberg, as more tech troubles for Audi resulted in just 5 laps in the morning, but bounced back with 63 in the afternoon. Now, second was Ollie Behrman, who stopped at turn 2, and third for Arvid Liblad, who had a small tech issue, but all returned to the track. So, after 3 days of testing, this is the current results from each of the day, and the lap counts from each power manufacturer. Day 1 sees Isaac Hadjar top 118.159. He completed 108 laps. George Russell was second, 118.696. Franco Colapinto in third, 120.189. Kimi Antonelli in fourth, 120.7. Esteban Ocon fifth, 121.301. Liam Lawson sixth, 121.513. Valtteri Bottas on the 124.651. Gabriel Bortoletto, 125.296. And Sergio Perez on a 125.974. The lap count at the end of day 1 puts Haas at 154, Mercedes at 151, Red Bull 107, Racing Bulls on 88, Alpine on 60, Cadillac 44, and Audi on 27. Now, day 2, watch as it shrinks. Max Verstappen was fastest, 119.578. He did 27 laps. Charles Leclerc was a 120.844. He did 64 laps. Isaac Hadjar set a 131.981, 51 laps, but in wet weather conditions and did crash. Lewis Hamilton was fourth, 133.455. That means Ferrari did 120 laps and Red Bull only 78. And then to today and day 3, and it was Kimi Antonelli fastest, 117.362. George Russell, 117.580. So in roughly the same situations, the two Mercedes are separated by about 0.2 of a second, and both were running on the same tyre compounds, I've found out. Lando Norris in third on a 118.307. Franco Colapinto fourth, 119.150. Pierre Gasly fifth, 119.297. Oliver Behrman sixth, 119.314. Arvid Lindblad, 119.420. And Nico Hulkenberg, 121.010. Mercedes led the lap count on 183. Alpine on 125. Racing Bulls on 120. McLaren on 76. Audi on 68. And Haas on 42. So that's the current all 3 days of live timing, and so much for it being a closed test. We've literally got data, simulation, speed traps, and I've had so much fun, it's unbelievable. So, Matt, starting with you on this one, then coming to Kobe. Given what we've seen so far and how little we do actually know, it may seem like we know a lot, but we really don't. What are your first impressions of the new cars and teams for 2026?
Well, looks like, as I said before, the kind of general pecking order looks kind of to be similar to where we kind of ended up last season. Ferrari, Mercedes, McLaren, Red Bull, we would expect, but of course what we've documented about Red Bull, and they've only really run in the wet and drying conditions, so not quite really sure, apart from on Monday, of course, where Agile top of the time. Alpine look better than they were last year in the pecking orders, perhaps. It'll be interesting to see where all of those kind of midfield teams slide in. We've, of course, not touched on Aston Martin or Williams because we haven't seen them, so that's still to find out. I think the cars look good. I think we talked about this last few weeks when we've been sort of seeing the liveries and stuff come out. Always good to see the new liveries, and we've got more colour back this year because they've kind of been forced away from running black liveries to keep the weight down. So that's good. I just can't. It's difficult to just see from the limited sort of actual physical video that we've got, rather than the still shots of the cars moving. They sound good, but when they get side, it's going to be, I think it'll be a bit of a when we actually see them sort of side by side at Bahrain, or obviously that first morning of running Albert Park, when we've actually got more than one car going around at once. And you go, actually, yes, now I can see the difference. They are narrower, they are shorter in terms of wheelbase. So once we get into the proper swings and roundabouts of that early part of the season, then we'll see the difference. But looking pretty good from all the teams that have run so far. Just question marks, of course, over Williams and Aston Martin, and of course Red Bull with this delay that we've talked about.
Yeah, for sure, Matt. I don't really have much more to add. Yeah, Josh. Yeah, you're right. We really don't know much about what's going on so far. It's just nice to see cars on the track in 2026. In some way or form. But it's certainly going to be interesting to see what the pecking order looks like. As we get to the start of the season, the first few races, and deeper on into the season, see which teams are going to be at the top and which ones, are going to be having, quite a bit of trouble as we get on in this 2026 Formula One season. Yeah, I wonder, we're going to see, we're going to see the, I guess, the defending world champions McLaren, see them back at the top. Then we're going to see Red Bull, Ferrari, Mercedes, up in the mix at the top. or could we see a surprise, a team we're not even thinking about, join the big boys up at the top of the F1 grid and potentially fight for podiums or maybe race wins? That would be a lot of fun. And looking at the cars itself, seeing a very few videos of the cars and seeing the active arrow on the front wing is absolutely crazy to me. That's certainly something that's going to take getting some used to from my perspective. Because I've never seen a front wing do that, in live action on the car. So I thought that feature, is really cool. And and looking at Aston Martin, and Williams, hopefully that once they get on track, their 2026 programs will end up going smoothly. But it was quite a surprise, at first, Josh. When I first saw the news that, hey, Williams is not going to participate, I was like, what? I was thinking at first, what have Williams been doing all off season? And and then the months before that, preparing for this, all the other teams are ready. I was just wondering, like, how come it's you, Williams, you're not prepared? Like, does that send a bad sign of what this year could entail for the Williams squad?
Well, what I've been told from a couple of sources actually at Williams is that they passed the chassis crash test months at the start of the month, but they didn't pass the nose box crash test. So that's the front of the nose getting slammed into to protect the driver's feet. They didn't pass that crash test, so the front on incident zone. They passed that today, I'm being told, by a couple of sources down there at Williams who've been given the nod on the tap. I also understand that, we're hearing that they're about 30 kilograms overweight. No, it's about 20 kilograms as far as I'm aware. So I'm not really believing that. And that's what James Vowles also talking about in the press conference earlier on today, is the fact is that we are overweight, but we're not going to be overweight by the time we get to Australia. It might even go by the time we get to Bahrain. So the car's overweight, but it's fine. It's doing a virtual track test, which means the car is actually physically set up and it's on like a rolling road doing simulations and testing. And then the simulator's also up and running. But don't forget, they are limited in simulator time. So they've got to work all that in as well to make sure it's all good. But and I don't have a fear that Williams will miss out too much. I think they've got the safety sorted. They've got a powerful engine. And if the car's good and they've pushed it, it should be okay when we get to Bahrain.
Were we not told, quickly before we move on, and actually I'll read Adam's comment quickly, Lewis Hamilton hopefully will have a better year than last time. Well, it can't get any worse, Adam, as to what I was saying before. Were we not told in the summer last year by the big tops at Williams, including Mr. Vowles there, we've pulled back from this year, we are fully focused on next season. And all we've got since the beginning of 2026 is, Williams are in trouble.
Yeah.
And they were one of the first teams to go, we've stopped developing this year's car. There's absolutely no point. We've got what we've got. We're going to run it for this. And granted, second half of the season, it got better for Williams, didn't it?
That did.
The season, they were one of the strongest teams towards the end of the year. But they were one of the teams that said, we're going to put all our focus and all our eggs in the basket of 26, as Haas did as well, to be fair to them. They're the ones that are currently wearing the scrambled egg.
I know that comment is going to come back to haunt James Vowles if this goes wrong, when he says, I don't care about 2024. I don't care about 2025. I care about 2026.
Yeah.
That was back in 2023. They've put a big emphasis on this regulation change and it's not got off to the best start. But hopefully it's going to be okay. They've passed the crash test for the nose box. Now we should get going and doing well. Also, just wanted to point out, by the way, not a great start the Red Bull career for Isaac. Yeah, I admit it's not his fault. I don't know if I said this on air before. What happened was he came over the top of the hill into the crest of turn 12 and just the rear snapped because of the wet weather. So as soon as you put the torque down, because it's instant now, remember, the battery delivers 50% of the power as well. So as soon as you press the throttle, off you go. So you just like, round you go. It's a bit Formula E.
Well, that is what I was going to say. If we'd had proper pitches and stuff, there would have been Formula E drivers sat there going, I've done that. Yeah, it happened to me, that.
Completely not his fault. Completely not his fault. So I'm feeling a little bit easier on that. It's embarrassing, which is kind of what they wanted to avoid happening by not showing this test. But as I said, where's the cutoff? We're not seeing anything at the test here, and they're being so secretive. But does that mean that we're not going to show the racing? because, oh no, the car's broken down, it's unreliable. We don't want to see that. So we're no longer going racing. It's part and parcel of Formula One. Cars break down, things go wrong. You can't hide away in testing and then just show it to the world. Do you remember when Virgin didn't have their fuel tank big enough for the first 7 races of the year in 2010? Did they just go away and hide? No, they went out every week and still ended up retiring for God knows how long. So it was, you just got to suck it up. It's big boy pants time. And I think that's what Formula One really needs to sort of get used to. But anyway, I think the revolution will be televised, and JB Motorsports, thanks to Omi, played a small part in that. I like that. And I had actual journalists and commentators texting in saying, well done. I wanted to see that. So yeah, good job. Good boys, everybody. Okay, moving on to our second story, and a slight detour to the World Rally Championship as it has taken the next step towards returning to the United States. The WRC is working closely with the FIA, the Automobile Competition Committee of the United States, and Podium Events partners to host a candidate event this summer. The candidate event will take place from June 11th to June 17th in Tennessee and Kentucky. Stages in those 2 states will be assessed against full WRC standards, and if goes well, it could open the door for a WRC event in America as soon as 2027. Now, Rally USA project leader Marc De Jong has said that this is a significant step in WRC's much anticipated return to America after an absence of nearly 40 years, as the last WRC event stateside was Olympus Rally in 1988, the photo courtesy of WRC. I know, Kobe, you did that bit of the script. Just a quick tip. I've got siblings born in 1987 and 1989. Do not say that was nearly 40 years ago. They will come after you. So, Kobe, are you feeling more confident about a WRC round in America as it is next year?
Yeah, it seems like full speed ahead, because if they weren't serious about coming to America, this Canada event would have never happened. So I think it's really cool that World Rally Championship could be back in the United States. I'm not sure how big the World Rally Championship fan base is in America, and all of us, well, most of us at Grid Network, follow this championship since it is a part of the Grid ranking. Admittedly, it is kind of difficult to watch, here in the United States, since it's not on any of our traditional motorsports places that where we consume our motorsports action. Is not on ESPN, is not on Fox, NBC, anything like that, and not on Prime either, as we've gotten into that, and HBO Max. Yeah, that's what a larger of the American fan base have. And also, I guess we're gonna have Apple TV this year, with the new Formula One deal that we have since they got the broadcasting rights here stateside. Yeah, but with that said, I think it'll be a good opportunity, to not only build on the fan base you have right now in the U.S., but continue to, expand that and get more people involved in World Rally Championship. And last year, there were rumors that they were going to be doing this potentially do this, in the forests of Tennessee in the Chattanooga area. And it looks like they are going to be utilizing Tennessee this summer, and also, parts of Kentucky as well. So hopefully that will go well. And if they get the green light, we could very well see an official WRC round here next year. I'm not sure what time of the year it would be, but it would be great to have, them return to the United States, because 1988, been a long time ago since the Olympus Rally up in Washington State. And if they can bring it to, Tennessee, Kentucky, basically right beside North Carolina, that would be great. I guess that'd be kind of like almost a home rally event for me, since I'll just be like just a state over from this event if it takes place here. But there's certainly a lot of great places across the United States where you could host a World Rally Championship event, but it seems like they've zeroed in, on this location in Tennessee and Kentucky.
And to the point of it was 40 years ago, not to blow my own horn or trumpet, I am 40 on Monday. Great news. I mean, we've not, as you said, not had an event in North America, because there was Canadian events as well in that 80s period on the WRC calendar, but they kind of drifted away in the 90s. And then for a bulk of the sort of noughties and early part of the 2010s and stuff, it was kind of Mexico and Argentina. And they were in Mexico during the event, of course, when the pandemic all happened, and they had to shorten that event down to 2 days and get everybody home, because that was the the weekend the world stopped. And now we've got Chile and Paraguay as our America's portion of the calendar, and they take place this year in September. So it'd be great to have a North American event. You'll have plenty of Mexicans coming to see it because they absolutely love their WRC in Mexico and have done for many years. And it's a shame that with that pretty much since COVID has not got back on the calendar. So great news to have it. You can be sure that the ARA, the American Rally Association, is big business within its own small sort of bubble, really. Kind of try to follow it along as much as I can on the periphery. But if this happens, you're going to have Tanner Faust, you're going to have Travis Pastrana, all those kind of guys coming and having a go. They might not get into full-blown WRC cars. It might be in WRC 2, but there's going to be involvement from American drivers, which, as we know, if there's an American involved, people will watch. So as we a little bit touched on with Cadillac when we were talking about Formula One at the top of the show. So I think it's going to be a really great thing if it pulls off. Kobe?
Yeah. You talk about having an American involved. During the off season, we talked about a young American who wanted to get into WRC someday. How about Leah Block? That would be fantastic if we could get her involved in this event. Like you were saying, even if she's not ready to, let's say, race in the World Rally Championship, maybe you can get in a different type of rally car and do some demo laps or whatever. That would certainly get people involved. But since Leah's decided to leave open wheel racing at F1 Academy, so she obviously run out of eligibility there. She says she's decided to go back to her roots and try to pursue a career in making it all the way to World Rally Championship. If you get Leah Block involved, and if she's able to compete in this event or be involved in some way or some form, that would be really huge in trying to grow the fan base. Because admittedly, out of all the series we cover in the grid ranking, World Rally Championship is probably towards the bottom of the list of the type of series that people follow here. Stateside is probably that, MotoGP and Formula E probably towards the bottom of all the motorsports lists among the American fan base.
Oh, what a good way to signal that we've got the Miami Prix this weekend at Hard Rock Stadium. That's going to be interesting. WRC in the Rocky Mountains and have a special stage on the same course as the annual Pikes Peak Hill Climb event. Ooh. Yes. I think yes. That'd be good. It's not safe enough, is it? You're going to say?
Not safe enough, and it's too long.
Oh,
it's miles away from where this event's going to be perhaps based. So
long way from Colorado.
It's all right.
Long way.
I heard Donald Trump wants to hold it in Washington. Everything wants to be in Washington at the moment.
IndyCar. Yeah. That was another story that came through. Over the weekend that they're trying in honor, of the America's 205th anniversary, trying to add another IndyCar race to the schedule this year, try to run a street course around Washington, D.C. But the chances of that happening are really slim because it would need congressional approval and half of Congress, they do not want to have an event in D.C. So that's a huge hill they're going to have to climb to try to get that across the finish line.
Got an idea. Just for once, why not, when we throw the green flag for the Indy 500, also throw the American flag at the same time as a signal for 250 years. Just saying, have the American flag there, incorporate the Indy 500.
Matthew Owens will absolutely tell you that will not happen. He's a stickler for traditionally 500. He can't put the American flag out with the green.
But it did happen in kart at the US 500.
500. Yeah, and what happened to that?
Yeah, I've heard this. But I'm on about if you want to do it as a one-time honorary event, you incorporate it because Indianapolis is the biggest American race on the planet. So you honor it, you tie it together with that. And even I'd say, what about something with NASCAR and the Daytona 500? I'm surprised nothing's been mooted about that just yet. So I'm hoping that when we get the media kits out for that, there's some honorary events. I mean, we already know.
They renamed the duels.
Really?
Yeah, they renamed the Daytona duels. They're calling them the American 250 duels at Daytona this year. Yeah. To honor, if I remember correctly, with the 24 Hours of Le Mans, don't they wave the French flag to start the race and end the race? So
Yep. So it's doable. It's doable. Come on, make it happen. Do you know what? NASCAR. I love NASCAR. They are the smartest people on the planet. They know what their fans want and they just do it. That is brilliant. Well done. I hadn't checked up that they renamed the duels because I've been doing everything with Formula One. So that's brightened my evening. I'm going to look forward to that now. I think it'll be me and Matthew Owens on the call for those again midweek. Okay, let's get into it's sort of circling back to Formula One this as well, even though it might not sound it to begin with, because changes have been made to this year's schedule at the Nürburgring in an effort to make it possible for one of the world's top drivers to compete in the 24-hour event. Now, the VLN is moving the second round of the ADAC Ravenol NLS to March the 21st to avoid a conflict with the Chinese Grand Prix. Now, the Formula One race in Shanghai is on March the 15th, so the Nürburgring race weekend is sandwiched in between that and the Japanese Grand Prix on March the 29th. Now, Nürburgring officials say that this move is to give opportunities to drivers from the pinnacle of motorsport and other international series to compete at the Green Hell. Now, Mike Jager said that they're acting in the best interest of motorsport because they want to expand the global visibility that the NLS achieved last year when Max Verstappen raced there. The graphic courtesy of the Nürburgring. So, Matt, starting with you on this one, what are the odds that Red Bull will allow Verstappen to race at the Nürburgring between China and Japan? And do you think that there's a high likelihood that he'll actually compete in the 24 Hours of Nürburgring this year?
Which doesn't clash with a Grand Prix. I'd say that you wouldn't put money on this. I think it's going to happen. The bookies will win. The only thing, so a couple of weeks ago, this became a thing that Mercedes, Verstappen's team, and Winwood Racing, which are going to be running the Verstappen.com car this year, as we reported a couple of weeks ago with Chris Lulham, Jules Gounoni, Gianni and Cadea in GT World Challenge Europe. That same collaboration is going to run with Max at the NLS or at the Nürburgring on the Nordschleife in the 24-hour race. Problem with that is he has to do one of the sprint races that are the first portion of the season in the spring. So, as you said, the round 2 of that series would clash with a Grand Prix. So that's now been moved up a week so that it doesn't clash. That would allow Max to go and do it. Would Red Bull allow him? Of course they would. They allowed him to go and do the race last year, although that was in the sort of back end of the European Formula One part of the season. So the traveling stuff wasn't so much of an issue. But we've seen Max do 24-hour sim races while at Imola a couple of years ago, didn't we? And he got into a little bit of trouble with some people about that. I think I berated him on this very show about it at the time. Yeah, I mean, we had more people watch that race that he did, or the 2 races that he did, because he did the one in the Cayman, didn't he, last year as well, to get his ring license, and then did the race after, which he won in the Aston last year. And of course, that team has now switched to Mercedes for this year. So more people watch that NLS race than any other of the non-24-hour races at Nürburgring on their YouTube channel for a very long time indeed. So yeah, the eyes, Max Verstappen brings people with him. You know, there's the whole of the Low Countries army that will follow Max wherever he goes, as we've seen when we've had the Grand Prix at Zandvoort, of course, and at the Red Bull Ring. It's a sea of orange, so we perhaps will see CAC of orange people at the Nürburgring in early March to see how he gets on in the Mercedes. Great if he can get it. Problem is, we've seen races at the Nürburgring in March rained off, snowed off, fogged off. That would be the only thing that trips him up. If there's a weather issue, and much more talk about motorsport and weather perhaps when we get to Hots and Knots in a moment, that could trip him up. But if it all goes smoothly, then yeah, good. I was skeptical about this at the time when the news came out that they were going to sort of put the appeal in to have the race moved, but they've pushed it through. They've got it done. The doors are open. Come on, 4-time world champion, come on in and probably win this race.
Yeah, lots of weather to talk about later in the show. It might be a little snow, a little ice, maybe fog, shall I say. More later on that. But yeah, this will be really fun to see Max do the 24 Hours of Nürburgring this year. And this is not something that not every F1 driver could have an opportunity to do with all the race wins, world championships that Max Verstappen has. If there's one driver in this paddock who could be excused to do something like this, it's certainly Max Verstappen. But looking at the travel schedule, for March, that would be kind of strange. You're in Shanghai over here, then you got to jet across from Asia to Europe to Germany, and then you got to jet across the entire world again from Germany to Japan. Like, man, that guy's going to be absolutely jet lagged. And I do wonder how it's going to, affect his performance. Not obviously not, with China, with that one being first, but I wonder if it will affect his performance during the Japanese Grand Prix, because that's a lot of flying miles on your body, within that type of time period. But it seemed like, the local officials at the track really want, to give Max Verstappen an opportunity to participate in this event so he can run the 24 hours of Nürburgring. I think it would be really cool to have Max in the race. Obviously, it's going to be up to, Red Bull, and Ford as well, whether or not he can do this. But I think they will probably approve him to do this if this is something that he's planning to do. But like you said, Matt, this change might be all for nothing if they get rained out or snowed out of the Nürburgring during this race weekend. But it's certainly a story we're going to be watching, with great interest throughout the year. Like, could you imagine that Max Verstappen goes to the 24 hours of Nürburgring and wins overall? That would be certainly quite a story. And doing this in the middle of a Formula One season, because I remember when Nico Hülkenberg went to the 24 hours of Le Mans and he won overall, and then he was the talk of the entire Formula One paddock the next race weekend. And that's another thing, that we have an issue with. Like, can we please stop putting in a clash between Formula One and the 24 hours of Le Mans? It's really gotten old. I know that's that's a discussion for another day, but it's just ridiculous because there's, Max Verstappen, and I'm sure there's other F1 drivers would really love the opportunity to get in that hypercar class and go for the overall victory. It's such a shame that they keep clashing. I feel like Le Mans weekend is one of the weekends where all the major racing series in the world need to come to their senses and say, you know what, let's take an off weekend, and just let our guys go to Le Mans if they want to.
Live scenes how I'm going to be doing 2 at once. Formula One, 24 hours. Just sharing a mic. It's the best I could probably do. Oh, there's that actually connected. I can't hear what I'm saying. So while we finish that, I'm going to throw it to Matt with the latest from the Grid EPI update.
Before we do the EPI update, one more thing to add on for NLS chat quickly is their races are on a Saturday, so that would give Max an extra 24 hours of getting back to Japan.
That is true.
Race to go off, etc., etc. Right, Grid Endurance Performance Index update time. And of course, at the weekend, as you would have seen our coverage on the Grid Network channel at the weekend, it was the Rolex 24 Hours at Daytona, the opening round of the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship. 3 in a row for Porsche number 7 at Daytona, this time with a changed driver lineup for the last couple of years. But the man at the helm of it, as again, Felipe Nasr, the Brazilian, he part of the driving lineup for Porsche. Penske Perfect in the Porsche Penske Motorsport number 7. Felipe Nasr and their new recruits, Julian Andlauer and Lauren Heinrich, the driving trio there on Sunday afternoon in Florida. So congratulations to them. GTD Pro, the other pro category in that race, was won by another German brand, BMW, and the Paul Miller Racing Team, the number 1 car. Conor De Filippi, Max Hess, Dan Harper, and Neil Verhagen, the winners for BMW in GTD Pro. There it is. In LMP2, it was another win for CrowdStrike, the perennial LMP2 winners of all the races in IMSA over the last couple of years. Alex Quinn, George Kurtz, Toby Sowery, and Peugeot factory driver Alfred Jakobsen, the winners for the CrowdStrike APR team. And in GTD, another win at the Rolex 24 for Winward Racing. That's the team that Max Verstappen will be driving for in that Nürburgring race that we just talked about. This driving quartet was Philip Ellis, Russell Ward, Indy Donche, and Mercedes factory driver Lucas Auer. So congratulations to all of our winners from Daytona at the weekend in all classes. The Grid Endurance Performance Index moves on from Daytona to Dubai this weekend for the next 2 races of the Asian Le Mans series. 4 more races to go in this championship before it wraps up, before the European season kicks off. 2 this weekend, 2 4-hour races at Dubai, and then 2 4-hour races next weekend at Yas Marina, Abu Dhabi, to finish the season. So, as we always say in this part of the year, the Asian Le Mans series really does shape the start of the Grid EPI top 10 for the season, and we will, as always, be showing you the week 1 standings of the Grid EPI on our first show in April, as to tie in with the Grid rankings release as well at the end of March. So that is to come this weekend. We will give you the updates on what's happened in both the races at Dubai on Saturday and Sunday in the Grid EPI slot on the show next week. We've just ticked over exactly 1 hour into the show. Time for Kobe to bring you up to speed with the other headlines from the week.
Thanks, Matt. Time for some more motorsports news from around the world. And we're starting with RFK Racing and Colic Racing. They have announced plans to honor the late Greg Biffle starting this weekend with the NASCAR Cup Series Cookout Clash at Bowman Gray Stadium. If it's this weekend, more on that later. All RFK Fords will carry a special circular memorial decal above the B post. It says the Biff 16 in love and memory of Greg Biffle, which will be on their cars for every race of the 2026 season. For the Daytona 500, all 4 RFK cars, including the number 16 Colic Racing Chevrolet of AJ Allmendinger, will have the unique numeric styling Biffle used during his RFK tenure. A large-scale painted stencil of RFK's memorial decal will be painted on the infield at Bowman Gray once they clear up all of that snow and ice. And at the RFK Museum, the team created a special memorial honoring Biffle, which includes his number 16 3M Ford that he earned his final career Cup Series victory in at Michigan. And this final win was also extra special because it was Ford's 1,000th win in NASCAR in general. Co-owner and driver Brad Keselowski said Biffle was more than just a championship-winning driver. He was family because he helped shape the organization into what it is today, and his legacy is woven into the team's history. Graphics courtesy of RFK Racing and Colic Racing. Front Row Motorsports will enter a 4th car in the Daytona 500. Chandler Smith will be behind the wheel of the number 36 Ford. The NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series regular will join Cup Series drivers Noah Gragson, Todd Gilliland, and Zane Smith in the lineup. But Chandler Smith will have to race his way into the Great American Race because he'll be in an open car. And this is Smith's 3rd attempt at the Daytona 500. And he could make his first career start in NASCAR's Crown Jewel event after failing to qualify for his first 2 Daytona 500. Chandler Smith said this organization is known for its speed at super speedways, and he's going to give it his best shot to win the Harley Gerald Trophy. And if he's not in a position to win, he wants to help one of his teammates win it. Graphic courtesy of Front Row Motorsports. And this was a bit of surprising news that dropped last week. Indy Next has penalized Able Motorsports for a major testing violation. During the team's preparation for the 2026 season, Indy Next officials determined that Able tested gearboxes on a rig, which is used to gather and supply data. According to the Indy Next rulebook, rig testing of any equipment, whether separately or any combination, is prohibited. As a result, the team received a $25,000 fine and must hand over all collected data to IndyCar, which will distribute those findings to the other teams in the best interest of fairness and competitive balance. Able Motorsports has been put on probation through Gateway on June 7th. Photo taken by Matt Fravor from Penske Entertainment. Ray Hall Letterman Lanigan Racing added 2 members to his NTT IndyCar Series program ahead of the 2026 season. Former IndyCar driver Ryan Briscoe is coming on board as a driver coach after serving as Prema's sporting director last season. As we've been covering Prema for the last few weeks and months, and all the uncertainty with their IndyCar program. IndyCar has been hosting content days earlier this week, preparing for the 2026 season, and the Prema drivers, Callum Milat, Robert Schwartzman, were not present at those content days, as it's looking increasingly unlikely that we'll see Prema on the grid at St. Pete, as Ryan Briscoe, the team's former sporting director, has moved on to RLL, and Briscoe is going to be working closely with Graham Rahal, Louis Foster, and newcomer Mick Schumacher. And speaking of Schumacher, the team hired Mike Pulowski to serve as his race engineer. Pulowski brings a strong resume to RLL after previous stops at Andretti Global, Chip Ganassi Racing, AJ Foyt Racing, and Forsyth Championship Racing. Team president Jay Fry said they've made multiple impactful strategic additions this offseason, intending to put their IndyCar program in the position to compete at a high level every week. Photo taken by Chris Jones from Penske Entertainment. And after running part-time with them last year after losing his full-time ride, Andres Perez is set to contest another full season in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, this time with Nice Motorsports. Perez will drive the number 44 Chevrolet Silverado for Nice with sponsorship from Acceptance Insurance. And last year, Perez started his rookie year in the Truck Series with Spire Motorsports, but lost his ride after Watkins Glen. He finished out the 2025 season with Nice, and now he'll get to do a full year with them. Team CEO Cody Fall said Perez has tremendous potential, and strong partners like acceptance only strengthen what they aim to accomplish on the track this year. Graphic courtesy of Nice Motorsports. NASCAR Studios and Fox Sports have announced a brand new Dale Earnhardt documentary. The new documentary, titled We've Lost Dale Earnhardt 25 Years Later, is scheduled to premiere on Thursday night, February 12th at 10 p.m. Eastern Time after the NASCAR Cup Series American 250 duels at Daytona. It will revisit the passing of the Intimidator, examining the ripple effects that continue to shape the sport and its culture 25 years later after that tragic final lap of 2021 Daytona 500. The documentary will include interviews with Rusty Wallace, Kurt Busch, Kyle Busch, Joe Logano, Ryan Blaney, Frankie Muniz, Ryan McGee, and Patty Wheeler. It will also include former NASCAR president Mike Helton, the person who told the world back in 2001 that we've lost Dale Earnhardt. Graphic courtesy of Fox Sports and NASCAR Studios. Jake Bowman will run full-time this year in the ARCA Menard Series. Bowman will drive the number 20 Toyota for Nitro Motorsports. In the last 2 years, Bowman has raced part-time in ARCA West, winning his first career race last year at Colorado National Speedway. Now he'll be going for a championship in ARCA National. Bowman praised the team for building a program that focuses on development and performance, which is exactly the type of program he was looking for. Photo courtesy of Nitro Motorsports. NASCAR Cup Series regular John Hunter Nemechek will enter the Craftsman Truck Series season opener at Daytona International Speedway. Nemechek will drive the number 62 Toyota Tundra for Halmar Friesen Racing with sponsorship from DriveValue.com. He'll be a teammate to Stuart Friesen in the number 52 Toyota, who's returning to the Truck Series for the first time since suffering serious injuries in his big block dirt modified last summer. Friesen said the team is pumped to have Nemechek join them at Daytona as the organization kicks off its first season having 2 trucks full-time. Graphic courtesy of Halmar Friesen Racing. And last but not least tonight, we're looking at some potential weather in the North Carolina area. As of right now, NASCAR plans to continue on with the Cookout Clash at Bowman Gray Stadium, as I'm showing you a map right now from the National Weather Service based out of Raleigh, North Carolina. As you can see off to the top far left of this graphic, Winston-Salem, North Carolina, they're predicted to get 8 to 12 inches of snow, but, we're just a few days out from that storm, so that could change. Those numbers could either go up or go down, but the bottom line is we're expecting a major snowstorm here in North Carolina. My local meteorologist at WFMY, which is located in Greensboro, North Carolina, is to the east of Winston-Salem. His forecast right now is 4 to 8 inches of snow, but that's still enough to disrupt things that are going on. So if you're planning to go to the Cookout Clash at Bowman Gray Stadium this weekend, please watch the forecast and look at and follow NASCAR on all their channels to make sure you're getting the latest updates on the weather situation here in North Carolina as we prepare for a snowstorm. After last weekend, we got an ice storm, which is still on the ground right now. So winter weather is in full effect right now in the Carolinas, and it could be disrupting, one of our first racing events of the entire 2026 season. And that's all of the headlines I have for you tonight. So I'm going to throw over to Matt.
Thank you, Kobe. Our North Carolina watchers had to take a step back from the screen there as we were throwing up weather. There you go. It's meteorologist Kobe. It says Matthew. Our North Carolina viewers will have gone, what? Why am I seeing a map of my state on grid tonight? Kobe and I are tired of snow here in North Carolina. We want spring. I could go with a bit of snow. We haven't had any snow here. It's been lovely here today, just outside of Milton Keynes. Ed Matthews at WFMY. There you go. We've done Formula One testing and we've done Carolina's meteorologists. Let's talk about some racing cars, and let's talk about a certain young Finn, because it is time for week 3 of Cali Watch, because they were at Terra this weekend for the Castrol Toyota Racing Series, and he got on the podium in his 9th single-seater race. Cali Rovanpera 3rd place in the first of the 2 races on Saturday at Terra Tonga. It was wet. There's the caveat. So wet, in fact, that the second race on Saturday was cancelled. They lost the track, to use another weather-related NASCAR phrase. They lost the track on Saturday afternoon and they lost race 2. A 5th place and a 7th place on Sunday, though. So he was 17th in race 1, and 2 weeks later he's on the podium and finishing well inside the top 10. So Cali Rovanpera's push to get into Formula One continues. One more week of the Castrol Toyota Racing Series to come. That's this weekend at Highlands Motorsport Park. and then that season is done. And then he'll have a few weeks off to get ready for his travails in Super Formula, which of course won't be every week, but we will keep you up to date with what Kalle Rovanperä is doing in Japan after this New Zealand foray finishes next weekend. So congratulations to Kalle, his first single-seater podium in only his 9th start. So that is good news. Right, time for the next segment or part of this segment, which is Pick a Winner. As Josh mentioned earlier, it is the Miami E-Prix this weekend, the second ever Miami E-Prix, the first since season 1 of Formula E. And we are at the Hard Rock Stadium on a shortened version of the Formula 1 circuit. And as you can see by the standings there, it's been pretty bleak for us picking winners so far this year, because pretty much all of us went for Sebastian Ogier in the WRC. Of course, nobody got a point. We'll talk about that in a minute when we get to H and N. And nobody also, bizarrely, nobody picked the 7 Porsche to win at the Rolex on Sunday either. So Alex and Jason's points they collected for the first 2 Formula E races of the year are the points that have got them on the board. So who is going to join them on the standings board this weekend for using the hashtag Pick a Winner across all of the social medias, or this chat, or the weekend show before the race on Saturday, of course, for Miami E-Prix, which of course Josh and the crew at JBM will be covering as always. I, as always, get the first pick, and I'm going to go with the man with the golden gloves at the moment, and that is the man that won in Mexico. I'm going to go with Nick Cassidy to continue the reign. He is my pick for Saturday. Kobe, what say you?
For me, I think we're going to see 2 in a row for Nick Cassidy. I really like what him and Cetron are building early on in the season. And if he can get on a run, I think he could potentially be hard to stop. But, like I always say, it's still early days in the championship season, but I really like where things are trending with Nick Cassidy right now. Who you got, Josh?
Well, the layout, it favors a dive bomb on the inside and lunging around the outside. I'm going Ollie Rowland. So I've got a feeling that he could do it. I've got a feeling that the car looks good, and I've got a feeling that that could be an option. But I agree with that. It could be Cassidy who could double up. It could also be Jake Dennis. But I've got a feeling for Ollie Rowland.
Josh has corrected me. It's the 3rd Miami E-Prix this weekend.
Last year was so bad, we forget about it.
Yeah, well, indeed. So what a terrible race and awful finish of that race it was. So, yes, get your selections in for the weekend. Use hashtag Pick a Winner. And then actually after this weekend, we've got a few weeks off of Pick a Winner, if my memory serves. So you need to get yourself on that leaderboard early in the 2026 year, or across all the social medias. You have up until the green flag to get the green flag, the lights out down there at Hard Rock on Saturday to get your pick in. Omi is going with myself and Kobe and going to pick Nick Cassidy to get the win, as well as Adam, on Saturday afternoon down there out on the outskirts of Miami at Hard Rock. Right, hots and knots time. Not much hot going on in the world of weather, as we've documented so far. It's been cold and wet in Barcelona. It's very cold in North Carolina for the Clash. It was very cold in Monte Carlo. We had lots of... I said on the show last week, I've looked at the weather. It's not going to be a very snowy Monte Carlo. God, was I wrong. It was one of the best snowy conditioned Monte Carlos we've had for years, and well blooming done to Oliver Solberg on dominating that event to get his 2nd win. He was
surprising,
put out to pasture by Hyundai a couple of years ago when perhaps he was rushed up to the big class too soon. He went away, reinvented himself, won the championship in WRC2 last year, along with his miraculous win in Estonia. He got the big gig full time, and he's won at the first time of asking.
Fantastic. And I caught a couple of stages before we had to do the Rolex 24 hours, and I was really enjoying the snow. I was enjoying seeing a proper challenge, and good job, those boys. Managing to push back on the hill as well. I don't know, you can tell me who exactly went off the track, but actually getting shoved back up, strength, and that's what WRC was. And comically, comically, about 30 seconds before, I saw how WRC put out a statement saying, please respect the marshals, please respect the course, stay where you are. And then the next post they put on was, fans coming on to help get the rally stage back on. So brilliant. Loved it. Yeah, definitely a hot for me, because rallying's fun in the snow, which, should we go from snow to fog in a little bit? We'll see how that works out. I think my hot has to be Omi. Without him, half of the world wouldn't know what happened in the first session of Formula One's Shakedown. So Omi finding that workaround, because we did have it first. Honestly, I'll explain it now that it's out and it's been cut. Al Kamel ran the timing systems at the Circuit of Barcelona. Now everyone has got the link; it's public. You can Google it. But we got given the media link access ages ago, and it's the same one, bit different. So when the test loaded in, when Alpine were there, we could see Alpine's lap times from their Shakedown. That's how I told you last week that Polaron was doing 1 minute 18s and Gasly did 1 minute 15 when he secretly went there for a filming day. So we knew that it worked. It then got to Friday evening and Al Kamel's system was live and public and we had a driver tracker. So we set all that up. Then that got switched off over the weekend, but the pass around still worked. And what it was is Omi found out that if you went onto the webpage and it says username and password, but click timing 71, our plugin, it downloads it and it puts it on to their own graphics. So we had the live timings. So when the green light went on and all of a sudden they had accurate timings, the F1 teams, I'm told, literally panicked and went, "How is this possible?" It took them 4 hours to figure out how to stop it, and they didn't even stop it. A red flag signal at the end of the day interrupted the checkered flag signal and blocked the timings. And then that's how they figured out to just leave it. They didn't refresh the link. So they didn't cut it. They just didn't refresh it. But so Omi found the workaround. And then slowly, about 2 hours in, people found out how we were doing it and did it as well. But, we kept the views. I think it's like 180,000 now it's at. Trending worldwide, and that's all because Omi managed to get the timings through a plugin. So yeah, that's definitely a hot. So yeah, for once, we're the news. It's weird.
And Adam agrees with you about your Rolex coverage at the weekend.
Yeah, that's me. I tell you what, I've been non-stop. Honestly, I'm surprised I've got a voice. 24 hours flew by though. That was a great race. And I think that's the hot for me, actually. Despite the middle, which we'll talk about, it was a fantastic first 12 hours. It flew by, overtakes left, right, and center. And then the last 6 hours, it quietened down a lot, but there was a lot of strategy at play. And we should have really picked the number 7. That was it. Right. Do you want to get to knots and lead it off? Because my mind's got a bit foggy.
I've got 2 more hots.
Oh, go.
The first one, depending on your viewpoint, and you might have to put me on full screen code because I've got a picture to show the collective here. From Facebook, Spa-Francorchamps has a new footbridge.
Ooh.
That's over the endurance pits on the downhill towards Eau Rouge. Let me see if there's another shot of it. There you go.
Oh, very nice.
There's a new footbridge, but more knottery is they've knocked all that bit of the pit lane down.
It was rotting anyway.
It was rotting, and I stood on top of it when I went to that 24-hour race in 2015. Good God, that's too long ago. And watched a load of pit stops and stuff from up there. So Spa has more stuff coming for the season. So depending on your viewpoint, that is a hot or a not. My other hot, which actually is well timed that I'm on full screen, is to Joe Sanmiego. And you may be wondering why I've hotted Joe, who's not on the show with us tonight, as I pan because I'm trying to find something on my phone at the same time. My new addition behind the wall here. I have more of it, so I can put it on a bigger screen.
Oh my goodness.
Bringing the Bathurst, which Joe has sent me over the Christmas break. So thank you, Joe. And he was given this by people that he met at Portland IndyCar race this year. So Joe's got one of them himself. He's got an orange one. And he offered me either one, and I said, I'll take the black one. And he sent me it in the post. So again, thank you to Joe. And thank you to Michael and Sue from Australia that Joe met at the Portland IndyCar race that have been our fans and viewers of the Grid Network. So thank you to those guys. Your present to Joe has now gone from wherever you are in Australia to Portland, to Joe's house, and then in a US postal envelope and has landed in the UK. So Josh, you are global. The Grid Network, we are global.
That's amazing.
Michael, thank you, Sue, and thank you, Joe. That came on Friday in the post to my house. I went, I know exactly what that is. I can't wait to go and put it up on my wall. I said I'd have a try and have a different background every week there this year, and I've now got my newest edition.
That is outstanding. I love that.
I've got loads more of it here.
The motorsport world.
So
we really are the world's biggest family. It's fabulous. I love it. Every time you think, oh, motorsport, why do we bother? It's that. We're just one big happy family. Love it. Oh, right. What was it? Was that 2? It was. Right. Do you want to get into knots?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
foggy. Maid's gone foggy. Go on. Red flag.
Well, indeed. Red flags and fog. We actually had a stage of the Monty cancelled for fog midway through them actually trying to get through it on Friday night, I think it was, or even I can't remember if it was Thursday or Friday night. After the first few cars went through, they went, "Yeah, this is too dangerous. Let's it was stage 3 on Thursday." They went, "Oh no, let's fog it off." And I thought that was the only fog we were going to see all weekend. And then we had 6 hours of the stuff on Saturday night.
The longest ever IMSA caution in the series history. I've got it here somewhere, but I've been doing some. Here we go. 6 hours, 33 minutes, 25 seconds, and 120 laps. There you go, from Bob Potcrass.
Oh, Uncle Bob. Lovely.
Isn't that insane?
Crazy.
Didn't realise that screenshots now actually give me that.
Before, but that was something else, wasn't it?
Oh, just so long.
Jason says, while you're looking for that, things learned from the Daytona 24. 1, there are a limited number of tear-offs for windscreen, yes. And 2, add fuel whenever you can. Half tank on a yellow, take fuel. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that paid off, didn't it, on Sunday?
6 hours, nothing happened. That was the longest night of my life.
I got up on Sunday morning at 6:30, I think it was, UK time. Phone, let's see what's happening in the race. Caution. Oh, scroll back. Oh, lots and lots of caution. And lots of people going, why don't they just red flag this?
I was saying the same.
That's not how endurance racing works. Saw it at Le Mans 24, didn't we, when we had the big delay in the night? You just screw the driver if you do a red flag. So it's not really something they end up doing unless
it's really bad,
really bad, and we can't send cars around in a circle. But
the only thing that was worrying me was, from my perspective, I thought, okay, they've got to red flag it. We physically can't see anything. But then that was the safety nut in me. The commentator in me was going, please don't red flag, because if they red flag, we've got nothing to talk about at all. And I was freaking out in the commentary box, and it was a long, long night, and I'm very glad it ended. But of course, that was it just went on for ages. It was never ending, and then that did get to me a little bit. As you know, we're getting older now. Happy birthday, by the way, for Monday. But it's like I was like that at the end of the race. I couldn't do it, and then getting up. Don't forget, I went to bed at 11 o'clock on the Sunday night. I had to be up at 6:30 to do the first 4 hours of Formula One. I am literally knackered. It's getting that, and now it looks like we're going to have snow for the Bowman Gray. So don't know when that race is going to happen. At the moment, I've seen a couple of things from Bob Potcrass and also from Mike Joy saying that they are going to try and have it this weekend. All the Fox TV stuff is in position. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I'm still trying to debate about that. But we're ready to go for some form of coverage, and we'll see what happens. And if it's next week it happens, I'd like it to happen on the Wednesday, because even though I'm still commentating on MotoGP, it means that I can have Thursday off in the afternoon.
Oh, we've got MotoGP next week as well, have we?
Yeah. Shakedown actually begins in 2 hours for that, but there's nothing. Because MotoGP actually know how to guard their Shakedown. So there'll be no live timing, nothing leaking from there.
Because they've done it before.
Yeah, so they know what to do. So that starts soon. But literally, my schedule goes to Raw for the 24, Rolex 24 Hours, Formula One Shakedown, Formula E at Miami to NASCAR Bowman Gray, straight into MotoGP testing, then break. So yeah, then Bahrain testing. I think it's like a 14 days non-stop, 5-day break.
No rest for the wicked.
No. We're going to get to Australia and I'm going to be like this.
We've done already, yeah.
Yeah, we haven't even started yet. And Australia's already taxing because it starts on a Thursday here. So yeah. Anyway, it is time for
lights out and away we go. The Formula 1 season is underway. Wake up, Homer.
What? Wait, it's over. Right. Okay. Well, taking a look at our upcoming schedule is definitely something you don't want to sleep through, because on Monday night, Grid Live Wrap Up is recapping the NASCAR Cup Series exhibition race at Bowman Gray Stadium. Fingers crossed. But definitely we'll also be recapping the Formula E race at Miami E-Prix, unless it floods and then, can be flooded out, snowed out, everything could happen. Please do continue to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you liked what you saw tonight, you can send us a YouTube super chat to show your appreciation. We've now passed 1,700 subscribers. Help us reach our next milestone of 2,000 subscribers. You can hit the bell icon to get notifications so you'll always know when we go on the air. Follow all our social media platforms and visit gridnetworktv.com. You can take 5 minutes to invest in the Grid Network through Patreon. You can join Colin, Mark, Deshelle, Robin, David, Matthew, Crystal, and our newest Patreon subscriber, Nico, who all invest in the Grid each month in the Grid Network. We encourage you to join these 5 folks and this great group of people who keep us on the air all year long. And once you hit $500 per month, we can afford to send our team to the track more often and continue growing our media outlet. The link to all of this is in the video description below. And if you want to make a one-time donation, you can click on the Buy Me a Coffee link, get your name on the board, and invest as much as you want, and consider buying your favorite on-air personality a cup of coffee, and they'll thank you on the air. Well, it's been a long week and it's been a tiring week, and we're only halfway through. We've got a lot more action to come here on Grid Network. For Kobe Lambeth and Matt White from Grid Endurance Performance Index, I'm Joshua Birch from JB Motorsports. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.